In the bustling town of Maplewood, two rival gangs had long been at odds. The Ravens, known for their clever strategies and tight-knit crew, had earned respect on the streets. Led by a charismatic young man named Marcus, they believed in loyalty and fair play, often settling disputes with words rather than fists. The other gang, the Vipers, was notorious for their sneaky tactics and intimidation. Their leader, Jake, was ruthless and didn't shy away from using force to get what he wanted. The real tension started when both gangs heard about a legendary card game rumored to grant the winner control over the town's underground dealings. For the Ravens, this was an opportunity to prove their worth and maintain their honor. They wanted to show that skill and teamwork could overcome deceit. For the Vipers, it was another chance to solidify their power and eliminate their rivals once and for all. The stage was set for more than just a game. It was about pride, power, and the future of Maplewood itself. As both gangs prepared for the high-stakes showdown, little did they know that danger lurked just beneath the surface. The card game was set to take place in an old, abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of Maplewood. This dimly lit space, with its cracked walls and dusty floor, had seen many secret meetings over the years. It was a place where whispers echoed and shadows lurked, making it perfect for a confrontation between two rival gangs. Flickering overhead lights created a tense atmosphere, casting long shadows that danced ominously on the concrete. The warehouse's central area was marked by a rickety table, surrounded by mismatched chairs that bore witness to countless games of chance and skill. The air was thick with anticipation as each gang prepared their strategy. For the Ravens, this location symbolized their fight for respect. They hoped to turn the tide of their rivalry through a display of courage and fairness. In contrast, the Vipers saw it as an opportunity, a dark corner where they could unleash their underhanded tactics without fear of consequences. As both gangs entered the warehouse, the stakes felt higher than ever. The room buzzed with tension, knowing that the outcome of this game would impact not just their lives, but also the very fabric of their community. As the tension in the warehouse mounted, the key players from each gang stepped forward. Marcus, the leader of the Ravens, was a tall, confident young man with a warm smile that could quickly turn serious. He believed in playing fair and often reminded his crew that respect was earned through honesty. His strategic mind had won them many battles, and his friends admired him for his unwavering loyalty. On the other side stood Jake, the ruthless leader of the Vipers. Shorter than Marcus but equally imposing, he exuded a cold intensity that made others think twice before crossing him. Jake thrived on fear and manipulation. His cunning plans often gave him an edge over opponents. He had little regard for fairness and saw every encounter as a chance to assert dominance. Supporting Marcus was Lena, a fierce fighter who had proved her worth time and again in both strategy and strength. Her quick thinking often saved the Ravens from tricky situations. Meanwhile, with Jake was Tony, his right-hand man, a sly trickster known for his ability to cheat without being caught. As both gangs prepared for battle at the card table, their contrasting styles and personalities set the stage for an unforgettable clash. As the card game commenced, the stakes couldn't have been higher for both gangs. For the Ravens, this wasn't just about winning a game. It was a chance to uphold their reputation and restore some balance in Maplewood. A victory would not only grant them control over the underground dealings, but also solidify their status as the honorable gang in town. They believed that playing fair could inspire others and potentially invite new allies to their cause. On the other hand, the Vipers saw this as a golden opportunity to crush their rivals once and for all. Winning would allow them to dominate the town, eliminating the Ravens and securing their grip on all illegal activities. Jake's ambitions extended beyond just power. He wanted to instill fear and ensure that no one dared challenge his rule again. The outcome of this game could shift alliances, turn friends into enemies, and change the landscape of Maplewood permanently. With emotions running high and tensions palpable, both gangs understood that what lay on the table was far more than just money or territory. It was a fight for their very existence and future in the town they called home. As the game progressed, the Vipers prepared to unleash their sneaky plan. Hidden beneath the table was a set of loaded dice, cleverly crafted to give them an unfair advantage every time they rolled. Tony had spent weeks ensuring they would pass off as ordinary dice during the game. With their weight shifted and the markings altered just enough, no one would suspect a thing, at least not until it was too late. In addition to the loaded dice, Jake had stashed a loaded rifle in a nearby corner, concealed by boxes that had long collected dust. The weapon brought an added layer of intimidation to the game. Jake knew that if things went sideways, he could rely on fear to ensure compliance from both his gang members and their opponents. His ruthless nature thrived on creating an atmosphere of dread. As Marcus and Lena focused intently on their cards, little did they know that deception was lurking right under their noses. The game was more than a test of skill. It was a setup that could change everything if the Vipers executed their plan without being caught. Each roll of the dice not only dictated fortunes but also decided how far each gang was willing to go for power and survival. As the game began, the atmosphere crackled with tension and excitement. The dim light flickered above, casting eerie shadows as the Ravens and the Vipers took their seats around the rickety table. Marcus laid down the rules, his voice steady but laced with determination. He stared intently at Jake, who leaned back in his chair with a smirk, exuding an air of confidence that only heightened the stakes. The first round started, and players shuffled their cards with nervous anticipation. Each face-up card felt like a step closer to victory or defeat. Lena focused, her heart racing, as she calculated her next move. Across from her, Tony grinned, his eyes glinting with mischief as he subtly glanced at the hidden dice under the table. The tension was palpable, thick enough to slice through. Every chuckle and sideways glance seemed charged with unspoken threats. Laughter and banter filled the air, but it was laced with an undercurrent of danger. As dice began to roll and chips were pushed forward, both sides knew that the outcome could lead them to triumph or chaos, setting the stage for a battle far beyond just cards and luck. As the game unfolded, each gang showcased their unique skills and strategies. Marcus led the Ravens with a calm yet assertive demeanor, skillfully playing his cards and reading the game as it progressed. His moves were intentional, and he often relied on keen observation to notice subtle hints from his opponents. Lena, sitting beside him, used her sharp wit to engage in light banter, throwing off any nerves while expertly calculating her own plays. Across the table, Jake and Tony employed a different approach. While Jake feigned a laid-back attitude, he was meticulously watching for any signs of weakness in the Ravens' strategy. Tony, on the other hand, occasionally allowed his mischievous side to show through sly smiles as he manipulated the situation. When Jake made bold bets, he would glance at Tony, who discreetly adjusted the loaded dice when the moment felt right. The tension escalated as players exchanged glances filled with suspicion. The Ravens began to suspect something wasn't right. Maybe it was the way Jake's smirk grew wider with each round or the fluidity of Tony's luck. Every roll and card played felt like a dance on a razor's edge, as both gangs tried to outsmart each other while hiding their true intentions under layers of bravado and deception. As the game intensified, Lena's keen eye caught a subtle detail that sent alarm bells ringing in her mind. She noticed how the dice rolled differently every time Tony handled them. They seemed to land unnaturally, always favoring high rolls when Jake made bold bets. Her heart raced as she exchanged worried glances with Marcus, who had been watching Jake's expressions closely. The tension escalated around the table as Lena leaned closer, trying to decipher if something was truly amiss. "Do you notice how Tony never seems to miss?" she whispered to Marcus, her voice low but urgent. He nodded, feeling the weight of suspicion grow heavier. As the next roll approached, he decided to play it cool while examining the situation further. With an air of feigned confidence, Jake tossed the dice again, and they landed in a way that made Lena's blood run cold. It was too perfect, too controlled. She leaned towards Marcus. "We need to call them out," she urged, her voice tinged with both fear and determination. If they could prove their doubts right, they might turn the tide before it was too late. The stakes hung higher than ever as suspicion crackled in the air like electricity. With the tension reaching a boiling point, Marcus finally decided it was time to act. He stood up, his voice steady but filled with authority. "We need to talk about those dice," he announced, looking directly at Jake and Tony. The room fell silent, the air thick with anticipation. The ravens exchanged glances, a mix of anxiety and determination on their faces. Jake's smirk faded as he leaned forward, a flash of anger in his eyes. "What are you talking about? You're just trying to distract us from losing," he shot back, trying to maintain his composure. But Lena wasn't ready to back down. "We've seen how they roll. It's not normal," she countered, her voice firm. The accusation hung in the air like a storm cloud, electrifying the atmosphere. The Vipers shifted uncomfortably, knowing the stakes were high. Tony fidgeted, eyeing the hidden dice beneath the table. With the tension now palpable, Jake's demeanor shifted from arrogance to defensiveness. "Prove it," he challenged, his tone menacing. Just then, a loud bang echoed from the corner of the warehouse as someone accidentally knocked over a stack of boxes hiding the loaded rifle. Chaos erupted, and every gang member suddenly reached for their weapons, fully aware that this confrontation could lead to an explosive showdown that neither side truly wanted, but both were prepared for. In the midst of the chaos, all eyes turned to the fallen boxes where the rifle lay exposed. The tension in the warehouse thickened as Jake's bravado crumbled and anger surged through him. "You think you can just accuse us and walk away?" he shouted, his fists clenched. Marcus stood firm, projecting authority despite the adrenaline racing through him. "We know what you've been up to, Jake," he replied, pointing toward the dice that Tony had carelessly knocked aside in the commotion. "Those loaded dice will be your downfall." Lena stepped forward, eyes blazing with determination. "Let's settle this now," she declared, pointing at Tony as he reached for the dice in a panic to hide them again. Realizing they were cornered, Tony hesitated, sweat beading on his forehead. With fists raised and weapons drawn, both gangs faced each other in a standoff. The atmosphere felt electric as loyalty and betrayal mingled in their hearts. Just then, a brave member of the Ravens shouted, "Let's take them down!" A brawl erupted. Fists flew and chaos ensued as both sides fought not only for pride, but for their very survival amidst a haze of desperation and danger that threatened to consume them all. As the dust settled from the chaotic brawl, both gangs found themselves breathless and bruised. The fight had revealed not only the strength but also the vulnerabilities of each group. Marcus and Lena stood tall amidst the mess, surveying their opponents, who were scrambling to regroup. The rifle lay forgotten in the corner, a symbol of desperation that had escalated tensions beyond reason. Jake, now glaring at Marcus with defiance flickering in his eyes, realized that their deceit had not only backfired, but also shattered the fragile trust between their gang members. "This isn't over," he spat before retreating with his crew, their pride wounded as well as their reputation. Marcus took a deep breath, looking at his own gang members. "We fought hard today, but we must rise above this chaos," he urged. They had proven their honor in standing up against cheating and intimidation, but it was clear that lasting peace would be hard to achieve. In the aftermath, both gangs began to redefine their identities. The Ravens emerged with newfound respect from some in the community for standing against corruption, while the Vipers faced internal strife as they grappled with the consequences of their actions. Maplewood would never be the same again. Yet the seeds for change had been sown amidst the rubble of conflict. In the aftermath of the brawl, both gangs faced the heavy toll of trust and betrayal within their ranks. The Ravens, bolstered by their newfound respect in the community, began to reflect on their own alliances. Marcus called for a meeting, emphasizing the importance of unity and integrity. "We stood together against deceit," he reminded them, urging his friends to reinforce their bonds. Yet, beneath the surface, whispers of doubt lingered, as Lena pondered whether every member truly shared their values. Meanwhile, the Vipers were grappling with the consequences of Jake's reckless choices. Once a tight-knit group, they now found cracks in their foundation. Tony's confidence had been shattered. He felt the weight of guilt for falling into deception alongside Jake. "This isn't the way we do things," he murmured, longing for the days when camaraderie came before cunning. As arguments erupted in whispered corners, uncertainty hung heavily among them. Both gangs realized that trust could be easily broken but was far more challenging to rebuild. The battles had tested their loyalty, and friendships would either strengthen or shatter in the weeks to come. Each member faced an internal struggle. Would they choose to foster true loyalty or succumb to the temptation of betrayal again? The future of Maplewood depended on their choices. The card game and its violent aftermath marked a pivotal moment for both the Ravens and the Vipers, forever altering their futures in Maplewood. The Ravens, having stood united against betrayal, gained profound respect not just from the community but also among themselves. They learned invaluable lessons about trust, loyalty, and the strength of true friendships. Marcus's leadership fostered an environment where integrity flourished, inspiring a renewed commitment to uphold their honor in every future endeavor. On the other hand, the Vipers faced the harsh reality of their choices. Internal strife threatened to dismantle their once cohesive team. As Jake grappled with the consequences of his actions, he realized that fear alone could not sustain loyalty. Trust was essential for any group to survive. The fracture within their ranks served as a stark reminder that dishonesty would only lead to downfall. In the days that followed, both gangs found themselves at a crossroads. With respect and distrust hanging in the air, they had to decide how to navigate their paths forward. Maplewood would watch closely, as the choices made now would determine whether they would grow stronger or continue to decline into chaos. The impact of that fateful card game would resonate through the streets for years to come.